The phrase that went through my head this morning as soon as the number came up was the old Phil Rizzuto phrase, "Holy cow," with his accent in his head, because this was such a surprise to everybody. The 154,000.
I know, holy cow.
The holy cow number we got this morning was just kind of unbelievable. And so with 254,000 jobs created and 72,000 additional jobs found in the revisions, nobody had that on
What
their,
are we missing? What did
scorecard.
economists miss?
We don't know. It's really hard to pull something out of this because the household numbers were really strong too. 430,000 jobs created in the household survey.
Yeah.
And a lot of jobs in the household survey. 281,000 was the number of unemployed that went away. They didn't have more unemployed. They had fewer unemployed.
Yeah.
So just about everything you looked at in this report was better than the last time. I mean, it sums up, some down, but was better. The 3-decimal unemployment rate, we went to 4.1. But if you go out to 3 decimals, it was 4.051. So basically, 0.06 you would have had a 4% round. So that would have been even more gobsmacking than what we got.
Austin Goolsbee, when you spoke to him, Michael McKee, he said you don't want to put too much stock in 1 month's data. Michael MacKenzie, come on in here, because it does seem like rates traders are sort of tearing up their bets that we're going to see some big cuts in the next few months as a result of this report.
Well, we've been here before. So we had a big rally end of last year into early this year, and then we got some resiliency in the economy, upside inflation. Of course, we get inflation coming next week. And we'd had a great 5-month run here in Treasuries over the summer, which matched the best run we'd seen since, I think, 2010. So the market was due for some consolidation, but this is definitely a shock because, you know, as Mike's explained, it was strong across the board.
Yeah.
Upward revisions for past months, so you can't cling to that and say, oh, maybe this number's a bit too over the skis here. Unemployment rate dropping, but wages picking up. And wages are picking up at a time when no one expected that in the bond market. You've got CPI coming next week, but I think also, look at oil prices. We're up like $7 in the last week or so. China's announced a massive stimulus, and that's helping put a floor now under commodity prices more broadly, and sort of, you know, downplaying concerns about China exporting deflation across the global economy from here. So the bond market's going to have to reprice and kind of now have to say, look, the Fed told us that they were really focused on labor. Now we have to start, if labor's doing all right, now you've got to keep an eye on the inflation side of the dual mandate. And that's not looking so hot here, too, because there's stuff coming along, these shocks. So
there's only 2 things to keep track of, Carol. I don't understand why it's so tough.
Well, exactly.
Just 2 things on the
Two
plate.
things at this moment. Who knows by Monday?
Just inflation and the labor market.
That's it.
Well, Austin Goolsbee did say to you that there are risks that inflation might undershoot the central bank's 2% target. I mean, I'm a little confused because I also thought in the last Fed meeting that Jay Powell still said we're still above their inflation target. So
well, they're above their
an eye on
inflation
it.
target, but the way the trend is going, if you extrapolate out, 3-month annualized month-over-month change is 1.3%. So, I mean, nobody thinks that's going to continue at that rate, but if it did, then the Fed's got a problem on the other side. Mike's right, we've got to watch these other indicators. September, probably too early to see an inflation thing. As people say, inflation causes wages, not wages cause inflation. And in this case, the fact that wages are up is probably a reflection of a tighter labor market and the composition of the wage gains, although they were fairly good across the board. So it may not show up yet,
right?
But it's something that the Fed does have to keep an eye on.